Okay, we're back. This is Journey to Qualia, the book, video 2. John Milton. Now me. I'll just give you some rapid fire snippets that you guys can reflect on later if you'd like. The mind is its own place and in itself can make a heaven out of hell or a hell out of heaven. And better to reign in hell than to serve in heaven. Corey Taylor. There is something really spooky about that second statement, don't you think? John Milton. I guess it all boils down to how much you value freedom. Some people are afraid of freedom because it doesn't give that security of knowing. Andre Gregory. That's right. Some people need to stay on firm ground, but others are willing to adventure out to sea where they find magical new realities that makes life incredibly interesting. It's all a choice, I guess. Policeman. Is there an Andre Gregory here? Alexander the Great. I'm sorry, policeman. Is there an Alexander the Great here? Alexander the Great. Here I am. Policeman. You are hereby put under arrest for the murder of an obnoxious bystander. Alexander the Great. I'll tell you right now that yes, I did it, but he deserved it. That's all I can say. Policeman. There's no excuse. You should be bigger than that and just stand there and take it, even though that the other man was in the wrong. Alexander the Great. Well, I'm sorry, but I just don't believe in your statement that I must submit to the will of another. I'll tell you what, let's just have the citizens in this cafe take a vote, and we can decide right here and now if I am guilty of a crime. Policeman. Okay, for expediency's sake, let's do it. I'm pretty busy myself. All in favor of sparing Alexander the Great's life for the admission of murder, cast your vote in my cop hat. Let's see now. 1, 2, 3. There's, okay, 220 not guilties. Okay, now everyone that thinks Alexander the Great should be put to death for his crime, cast your vote in this potato chip bowl here on the table. Let's see. 0. Okay, I guess you're free to go. Alexander the Great. All right then. Good day, officer, but you're lucky that the vote came out like that. Policeman. Why do you say that? Alexander the Great. Because I would have killed you as well. No one is going to defeat me, no matter what the reason. Policeman. But you said you would comply with the vote of your peers. Alexander the Great. I did, but that vote was really to see whether or not you were going to die, not me. Policeman. Oh, you are one scary dude, Alex. Alexander the Great. Goodbye. Alexander the Great. Good riddance. Andre Gregory. Someday these people are going to learn that the rules of everyday society don't apply to us special people. Leo Biscaglia. That kind of came out arrogant, don't you think, Andre? Andre Gregory. Could be, but the bottom line is that we're not harming anyone here in our secret society of the glass bead game. We are merely living in our state of perfection, or almost mere perfection, so they should leave us alone. We made this a secret society for a reason. Leo Biscaglia. And what reason is that? Andre Gregory. Because the world is imperfect, that's why. Leo Biscaglia. Oh yeah, maybe that's why my mother used to always ask, Felice, why do you cry so much? Douglas Hofstetter. All right, everyone, gather around here on this giant rock. We're going to play a game while we sit here and watch Niagara Falls. Group, how do you play? Douglas Hofstetter. Someone will start by making a random statement, and then the next person needs to respond to that statement with another related statement or question until everyone gets a turn. The idea is to synthesize all of our great ideas into one perfectly merged state of reality. The only rule is that you only get one turn. Group. Okay. Douglas Hofstetter. Fyodor, you go first. Oops, that's not what I meant to say. Fyodor Dostoevsky. What should I say? Oops. Thomas Mann. He would have asked, why does evil exist, of course. John Milton. Because man has a free will, I think. Dante Alighieri. Isn't it comical that God couldn't create a free universe without evil? Zeno. God must not be all-powerful then, which seems paradoxical in a way, since he is all-powerful enough to create the universe. Friedrich Nietzsche. As I said a million times before, God does not exist. The Overman exists. Heraclitus. Who is the overman? Georgius. You are. It's all in your solipsistic heads. You're really the only provable one that ever existed, if you really think about it. Thales. What or who are you talking about? George Berkeley. What he means is that we are all the overman, or God, or whatever you want to call it, since we create our own realities in our own minds. Rene Descartes. I think, therefore I am. It's as simple as that. When you cease to think, you are no longer in existence. Georgius would take it one step further, though, and say that he truly is the only mind that ever existed. Aldous Huxley. That sounds pretty egotistical, don't you think? Archimedes. Try to prove him wrong. I bet you can't. Ludwig Wittgenstein. That all sounds like a stupid play on words. How could we be having this conversation if Georgius was the only one that ever existed? St. Augustine. Don't some people say that we all exist in the mind of God? And doesn't Parmenides say that the only pure being exists? So in a way, Georgius is God, or God is God, but maybe this solipsism has some truth to it, since we must exist in some eternal grand mind, don't we? St. Anselm. Georgius is definitely not God, that's for sure. Socrates criticized him for insufficient rhetoric a long time ago. Basically, he deflated him as just a play on words. Martin Heidegger. At the end of the day, aren't we all just using limiting words to describe an ultimate state of being? Edmund Husserl. It's almost like there is no sense talking about absolute being, since it's all nonsense. Lao Tzu. The Buddhists would say, don't say anything, just experience pure reality with the mind, since words are a limit. Daniel Dennett. Unfortunately, our minds limit as well, since it concretizes reality into an understandable quantity. Eckhart Tolle. It's almost like you have to be out of your mind if you want to experience pure being, and that's an extremely scary thought to most people. David Chalmers. It's almost like you have to become insane, where you don't have any outside experiential sensations at all, if you really want to realize pure being. Jean-Paul Sartre. Sounds a lot like death, doesn't it? Euclid. Is that really the elephant in the room that no one wants to admit? Death is the perfect state of being, and we are all running around chasing little bits of meaningless reality as if that is ever going to lead somewhere? It's like we're all following an endless stream of breadcrumbs into an ultimate journey to nowhere. Ayn Rand. I know you guys are just kicking around ideas, but you're really starting to disturb me again. Maybe I don't have faith in God, but I do have faith in the power of my mind, and with that I plan on using it to the best of my ability, until it's no longer a useful tool. Until then, I believe that we can find out who we are and what the ultimate truth to the universe is with the use of my extremely powerful mind. It is within all of our capabilities. Don't let it become another one of those unrealized particles of potential that the quantum physicists like to ponder about. Become realized with me, and I will love you for it. Eric Fromm. Well put in. You have the art of loving down pat. John Wheeler. One thing that we know for sure is that reality certainly is a lot weirder than we originally thought it was. I really do believe that we have to keep our minds open to the concept of law without law and see where that leads. Isaac Newton. I don't know why we should pursue these wacky theories all the time. We live in a cause and effect universe, and that is all we need to know. We can have a positive effect on our state of being if we have the proper and efficient cause. That cause has to be ourselves. Werner Heisenberg. Yet it is true that the macro world that we live in is very deterministic. And how do you get around the indeterminacy of the world at the fundamental level? Shouldn't that concern us as well? Albert Einstein. I wonder if we could find the link between the micro and the macro levels, if that might lead us to some huge hyper leap forward in ways that we can't really see right now. George Cantor. Yes, it is true that you will always be able to make great strides forward, and that is what makes life interesting. You will always be infinitely ahead of the past achievements and infinitely behind the future achievements in theory. So we will always be right here in the middle, where we started from, in some odd metaphysical way. But given that we always feel better when we improve our lot in the world, we need to keep moving forward. We only feel bad, I think, when we realize how far we have left to our journey, and that is an infinite ways away. John D. Barrow. Even though something like a state of perfection is an infinite distance off into the future, we can't let that get us down. We have to keep emphasizing the positive in the position that we are always currently at. Virgil. It's our destiny to keep trying. We are just like the mouse on the wheel of life. We have to keep trying, otherwise we'll fall off. Virginia Woolf. So what if we fall off the accepted wheel of life? At times it gets a little boring pedaling away the way we do. I say we do something radically different for a day and see what happens. The only problem is I'm not sure what we should do. Does anyone have any ideas? Richard Branson. Why don't we fly to Mars? I created a craft that will get us there. The only problem is I'm not sure how we'll get back home. Christopher Columbus. I'll go, what the hell. We'll figure it out. Necessity is the root of all invention, isn't it? Alfred North Whitehead. That just sounds like a suicide mission to me. Isn't Qualia a state of mind? Why do we have to fly off to Mars to find it? Can we find absolute reality right here? George Hegel. I think Alfred's right. Many of us believe that all this is in our mind anyways, so let's put our minds together, so to speak, and come up with this ultimate state of perfection that everyone keeps talking about. Kurt Gödel. Maybe we're setting our goal too high. I mean, an ultimate state of perfection's a little ridiculous, don't you think? Paul Davy. Yeah, Kurt's right. We keep seeking a goal that doesn't exist, seems to me. Anaxagoras. How can we talk and conceive of something if it doesn't exist? Perfection and God must exist, because what the hell we've been talking about all this time? Buddha. We basically have been talking about nothing. Leucippus. Okay, let's start back at the beginning. What do we know for sure? Let's state that as an absolute fact, and then build on that the same way that Principia Mathematica did. Then we'll know that everything is on solid foundation if we start from the bottom up. So the number one axiom is I exist. Democritus. Okay, axiom 2 is we all exist, since we are all talking to each other. Hippias. Axiom 3 is axiom 2 might be wrong, but we'll accept it as fact for now, since it is probably true. F. H. Bradley. Axiom 4 is being is infinite. We know this since the mathematicians have proven that even a finite set is infinite. So whether being is infinite or finite, we know that it is still infinite. Socrates. Axiom number 5 is the source of being is nothing. We know this from metaphysics of being, that no matter if you view the universe as infinite, it is bounded by nothing, or whether you view the universe as finite, it is bounded by nothing. So we know for sure that the source of being is nothing. Stuart Hameroff. Since we agree that the source of being is nothing, axiom 6 is there is no overall purpose or truth to the universe. The truth is there is no truth. Hermann Hesse. Therefore, axiom 7 is we decide what the meaning of our existence is. God or no one else can tell us what our purpose is. We decide for ourselves. Richard Bach. Given number 7, I'm going to be bold and say that axiom number 8 is I am God. May as well aim big, since there is no overall God or truth that is dictating to us. Antoine de Saint-Exupéry. Axiom number 9 is I am perfect. Perfect is whatever I say it is from this day forward. Since there is no God to tell me otherwise, I am claiming this. After all, this would be the ultimate form of freedom. Freedom, wouldn't it, if we were really have the power to deem ourselves perfect? George Orwell. I hate to be a party pooper and question one of the axioms, but how can we say we are perfect if we are going to die someday and rot away for all of eternity? That doesn't sound very perfect to me. We are in one state of being now, and we're going to be in another state of being in the future, dead. I propose that we change axiom number 9 to I am imperfect. That I know we all agree upon. Antoine, I appreciate your optimism, but this is an absolute fact. Bryce DeWitt, I, I hate to break the streak of making axiom, but this number 9 really is an important sticking point, don't you think? Where do you go when you cease to exist and become a nothing? More specifically, how can a nothing be anything less than perfect, since it doesn't contain any imperfections? Charles Sief. You don't go anywhere. You just become a nothing. Oddly enough, though, this is a state of nothingness merges with infinity. So it sounds like it would be pretty awesome, but you're still a nothing. So it sounds more scary than awesome, I guess. Jacob Bernoulli. So we are imperfect gods for a short period of time while we are creating our own reality here on earth. And then we become a god that died for all eternity. That's weird. Empedocles. Who created the first god? Or who was the first god? Siddhartha. The nothing god was the first god and is the last god. But I'm not sure why we have all these imperfect something gods in between. Alan Watts. Let's face facts here. Given the way we are all perceiving our existence currently here on earth, we all have to admit that axiom number 9 is we are imperfect. We suffer diseases and pain, we die, etc. We are imperfect in our current state of being. That is what we have been talking about all along. How do we become perfect in the future? So axiom number 9 stands. As much as we dislike it, we are imperfect, period. Sophocles. Well, staying on that vein then, axiom number 10 is, someday we are going to die. Even if we don't know this to be an absolute truth, we know it to be an incredibly probable truth. So let's face the facts, people. Nick Herbert. Axiom number 11 is, every moment is a sacrament. This we know to be an absolute truth, given that our time here on earth is limited. Therefore, we must value each moment as if it is our last. And by doing this, we will maximize our appreciation of every moment that we do have, no matter how imperfect it may or may not be. Lewis Carroll. Axiom number 12 is, all axioms are subject to change upon further review. I know this kind of throws everything out the window, but I'm an idealist and I don't want to get locked into anything. And once we put these on the secret scrolls, Miguel de Cervantes. Again, I don't want to throw cold water on this party, but these axioms couldn't be on shakier ground. I propose that only axiom 1 exists, which states that I exist. And it should be changed to the way Rene Descartes originally proposed it to be. More specific, axiom number 1 is, I think, therefore I am. This way, we in a roundabout way agree that once we stop thinking, we cease to exist. Norman Vincent Peale. All right, it is agreed. I think that we will have only one axiom. James Joyce. Given that we have just this one axiom, and that's really boring, I propose that we make a different list, which is more like a wish list, like the following. I exist, I am God, I am infinite, I am eternal, I am perfect, I am beautiful, I am truth, I am creative, every moment is a sacrament, I am love. Frank Baum. I propose that we make the official scrolls of the glass bead game. Marshall Prose. Wait a second. Since this is our reality, why don't we have 3 independent secret scrolls? One could be with one axiom, the second could be the realist list of axioms, and the third could be the list of idealistic axioms, which is almost like our wish list. This way we cover everything. Group. So be it. Group. Where are we going next? Mark Rodite. We're going to the year 2049. God. We will have to appoint Anthony the next pope so that he can clear the church's name from all the wrongdoing that humans have corruptively done. Pope Anthony. I would like to declare here and now in the year 2049 that I decree that the church give up all its wealth in a real attempt to help mankind and the poor of the world. This will be done effective immediately via an online auction in which all the church's possessions will be sold and given away. The sale will go to the highest bidder, and the money will immediately be converted to U.S. dollar bills and loaded into the basement of the Vatican. I will then start on a lifelong journey to physically drop the money from a stealth bomber formerly used by the U.S. military. They will no longer need any weapons, since I also decree that all war is illegal and banned forever. Only love and nonviolence is allowed on the planet from this day forward. Useless peasant. Pope Anthony, you are the greatest man who has ever lived. You are truly godlike. David Cronkite. It's an incredible day in the history of man. There is now hope that man will be saved in a very real way, since everyone will have money and peace from now on. We are getting some of the results in from the immediate online auction. Here's a list of some of the sales. Michelangelo's Pieta, $5.3 billion. St. Peter's Tomb, $4.1 billion. The Sistine Chapel, $299 billion. What an amazing day. We are already seeing men picking up their purchases at the front door with pickup trucks. There goes the Pieta on a truck with the writing Harold's Towing Service on the side. They're leaving with no security at all as the crowd cheers. This is truly amazing, folks. Wait a second, there's a disturbance up at the podium. We have just learned that Pope Anthony has been shot by an assault rifle, which was banned way back in 2013 by Barack Obama. The assailant is up in a window on the 4th floor across the street. Plus, there is a mob of other assailants storming the fort known as the Vatican right through the main entrance. It appears that Pope Anthony has escaped, however, through the secret tunnels that only he knew about down in the catacombs. The mob is continuing to follow the trail of blood, with actual bloodhounds, with torches and pitchforks in their hands raised in the air. This doesn't look good for Pope Anthony. Why are these guys so mad at Pope Anthony? We'll be right back, however, after this commercial break by Downy Fabric Softener. We're back. We have learned that Pope Anthony has made his way to Florence, but the mob of idiots is still hot on his trail. The idiots can't find Pope Anthony. Where is he hiding? We have just learned that the mob is leaving Florence. They have decided to look for Pope Anthony in Guam for some reason, where they believe Pope Anthony is currently hiding. The mob is gone now. Wait a minute, we are seeing something again, but I must say we cannot let this publicly known, since the propaganda was released that Pope Anthony is in Guam. We see Pope Anthony. He was in Florence all the time, pretending that he was the statue of David. The mob ran right past him in their haste. What a great move by Pope Anthony. How was he able to stay so still and calm all that time? He really is amazing and clever. There goes Pope Anthony again. He is off in a stealth bomber, loaded with cash, with his co-pilot Gandhi. They're off to travel the world to drop money to the needy, while the online auction continues on back at home. We can see him through the cockpit window, wearing his Pope hat, smiling and giving everyone the thumbs up. His plan is working.